Over a month ago, fast fashion brand H&M announced that they were launching a fashion collection approved by People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals, or PETA for short. PETA is a generally controversial organization whose campaigns for animal rights are often questionable. A lot of people would say they operate on an any press is good press basis. So a collaboration with H&M, not so good for the planet company, seemed par for the course for them. The fashion industry is known for the use of textiles such as leather, fur, wool that are associated with the ill treatment of animals. This is a point of correction for this collaboration, where no animals would be harmed in the making of the fabrics. Distinct items such as grape skins and recycled fishing nets would be used instead. But when you really think about it, how often do we find like real leather and fur in fast fashion items anyway? Over 60% of our clothing items globally are now made from synthetic fibers, the same kind of synthetics that harm animals and clog the oceans, and the same kind of synthetics that are apparently in this collection, like the niche fabrics, don't even make up the bulk of the material. It doesn't take much digging to find out that a lot of the materials in this collection aren't actually like that animal friendly, and even though some of these are claimed to be recycled synthetics, this doesn't always come out as good as it seems either. Recycled synthetics for clothes are made from plastic bottles, not from old clothes. So where plastic bottles are recycled into new ones, this process can be done for about 10 times. But when you move those plastic bottles into the fabric chain, only about 1% of clothing fabrics are recycled, so you're essentially fast tracking that to be disposed and landfilled. If anyone within 2 minutes of a computer can figure this out, even shorter for someone who's like in tune with the world of ethical fashion, it begs the question who exactly this collection is for. Brands spend copious amounts of money convincing consumers that they are making the best choice for their dollar, and in 2022 that also means convincing them that their clothes and their food and everything isn't actively hurting the planet. I feel less guilty about my impulse buy, and they line their pocket. Basically, this is just these two companies coming together for a little bit of fun greenwashing and fooling, a well-meaning customer. But the H&M and PETA collaboration may have also a different audience member or a different target audience that I hadn't thought of before, which is vegan capitalists. But before I get into explaining what a vegan capitalist is, I would like to give a quick shout out to today's video sponsor, Ren. Ren is a website that makes it easy to calculate and offset your carbon footprint. Our lifestyles have an associated footprint no matter how much we may cut down on meat or long distance travel or how much we shop, and Ren offers a platform to offset those emissions. Ren not only funds carbon capture projects, but they also fund climate policy research, conservation efforts across the globe, and an interesting new project they've started is mineral weathering in Scotland, where crushed rock is used to sequester carbon and potentially help vegetation grow even faster. I literally did not know that was a thing, and I'm questioning whether I was paying attention throughout my entire degree. But we move. By supporting these projects, you are helping minimize the impacts of climate change and helping to preserve our home. If any of this is of interest to you, then you can support Ren today. The first 100 people to use the link in my bio or in the description, hello, this is an Instagram, will have an extra 10 trees planted in their name. Thank you so much again to Ren for sponsoring this video. Veganism is the practice of abstaining from the use of animal products, particularly in diet, and an associated philosophy that rejects the commodity status of animals. Vegan capitalism is an interesting take where those who subscribe to it believe that our current economic system can be used to advance veganism efforts and save the planet. This is obviously absurd, but I like entertaining silly things. That's why I'm on Twitter. So let's have a look at this article from a vegan website called Live Kindly as an example of vegan capitalism. And in this case, the author is discussing whether or not to boycott a vegan food company that has been acquired by a not so friendly parent company. The author writes, quote, "When people choose to abstain from consuming animals and their byproducts, they are using capitalism to send a message to the meat and dairy industry by refusing to give them money." I can agree with that, to a degree. Boycotting while not an actionable method of protest for like everyone, does work to an extent. The concept of voting with your dollar has been widely discussed on this channel and on many other sustainability focused channels. That's usually as a stepping stone or a starting point for action, not the be all and end all, a starting point. But anyway, the author continues, if current vegans were to boycott said company, due to the morals of their now parent company, it would likely destroy a well-known vegan brand that encourages people to try alternatives and replace animal products in their life. A more productive way of approaching the situation would be to campaign for the new parent company to stop testing on animals so that it reflects the morals of the company they've just bought. This would tell the company and other large companies that their purchase is the way forward and would encourage others to invest their money in plant-based businesses of the future. In my opinion, this take misses a lot of key factors. The company in question in this article is Otsuka, which is a pharmaceutical company that allegedly tests its products on animals. Oh, I'm very heavy on the allegedly. I am not having a suit on my doorstep. Anyway, Daya makes plant-based products that are made, quote, with respect for the planet. Firstly, this person, the author of this article, seems to be ignoring the fact that this acquisition is not happening in a vacuum. Before a bid or any sort of purchase happens, there's like a lot of work put in, a lot of research put in, and it's most likely that this big parent company is just trying to find a way to feed into this new fun niche market. Cutesy vegans, ooh, let's get some of that plant-based dollar, and also potentially to minimize the reputational damage of the alleged animal testing. To assert that just because the food is vegan we should turn a blind eye to the egregious practices seems a little antithetical. And also, as much as I enjoy mainstream vegan products, it's undeniable that the vegan food market already benefits from or replicates the problems. So to just say, oh, but we have to support capitalism when it's vegan food because it's vegan food and they're trying their best and there's no ethical consumption under capitalism anyway, as long as the animals are safe, seems like an interesting choice. But let's indulge this line of thinking further and look at the closing line for this article, which reads, vegans campaign to end animal testing anyway. Why not encourage them to become a leading brand in the cause, increasing the value of the company by being ahead of the crowd in ending animal testing? Like we've seen with the H&M and PETA collab thing at the start of the video, it is very easy for these brands to take on an eco-conscious line within their wider business or acquire a eco-conscious line and not necessarily do anything about the rest of their business or change anything else. That I tried to look for a case study of where this has happened, couldn't find anything. Examples are that McDonald's and KFC launched vegan burgers in the UK, and I see no world where they stop serving meat products for the rest of their menus. There would be riots. Even as plant-based food options are on the rise, so is general meat consumption and food waste. And in attempting to appeal to these new vegan markets, unethical production continues behind closed doors. Take, for example, Impossible Burger, who allegedly used animal testing on their fake beef patties and cut open animals for examination. To promote fast food companies or big fashion chains as the saving grace or leading experts on veganism is I'm gonna keep making these expressions because I have no words. Too stunned to speak. It's nonsense. It doesn't work. But I'm trying to be diplomatic. Remember, we are entertaining a thought. This whole video is just me entertaining a thought and I guess debunking. Am I debunking? Am I owning a vegan capitalist? I don't know. Fast food chains and food conglomerates in general destroy community, businesses, grocers, and have led to the prevalence of food deserts. There's always something in the news about fast food workers and debates about living wage. The list of why vegan capitalism is a bad philosophy is endless. In the fashion example, these large fast fashion brands have essentially killed independent design, even though independent design or like small tailoring would have probably had a more ethical stance on just the use and end of life of materials. So I feel like it's now time to discuss that one missing word that so-called vegan capitalists always miss when informing, or at least trying to inform, their worldview. I have touched on this briefly in a previous video, but veganism and vegan activism in the West is overwhelmingly white, upper middle class, all the other buzzwords these lazy liberals like to use. And as such, conversations have been spearheaded by people who don't have or aren't open to the lived experiences of other people. The experience of the food processor who barely gets paid in the day is irrelevant, as long as I get to virtue signal my full fridge with copious amounts of vegetables that I will probably not get through and will throw away for Instagram. Also, vegan capitalism likes to introduce plant-based alternatives like they're something new, but it's not. And plant-based meals have been a staple part of most indigenous or generally just non-colonial diets for millennia. It's only until recently that big meat promoted this idea of like meat with every meal and protein and whatever, that big word, marketing. They marketed it towards us. And this is why meat alternatives are a good stepping stone to deconditioning oneself from that belief and trying less meat. But to push all this mass production and monopolization again in the form of plant-based alternatives doesn't work. This is because just like the big meat industry or wool or leather factories, etc., the big plant-based alternative companies are also still directly driven by profit. Vegan capitalism doesn't want to do the work to dismantle current supply chain dynamics and exploitation of the global south by the global north, because it benefits from it. It doesn't see that these supply chain and consumption patterns are the exact reason why the animals it so cares for are in trouble in the first place and their home is dying. In line with the fashion example, because that's what this channel is about in case I forgot, what use is it wearing a synthetic save the animals leather jacket when the textile waste and fabric trimmings and dye used to make it are washing away in a river and destroying fish? In conclusion, vegan capitalism as a concept is bullshit. In case this rant was an indicator enough, and I'm glad I've had the chance to get it off my chest. Please let me know what you guys think in the comments, and thank you again to Ren for sponsoring this video, and I will see you guys next time.